Good morning, everybody. Today's CAD training will be on layer management, data shortcuts, project setup, and view manager. This is part one, so we may not cover all of those topics today, but we'll try to get through a few of those. Now, these are just uh, very important background ideas, the way that we have things set up here at the office, and it's a good foundation on how to set up your drawings, how to set up your projects, and make sure that everybody is on the same page so that we can efficiently go through the design and we're not searching for files or data or layers or whatever. So with that, let's see. The first thing I have today is the project folder commands. I wanted to start with this because this is something not sure everybody knows even exists or how to use it, but it's a good way to just start and get going with a project. A lot of times we're asked to start on something that nobody else has even touched yet, and this is a clean way of getting it there. All right. So in Civil 3D, under New, you want to make sure you select the underscore XREFMD template. All of our updates that we do to the template should be consistently added to that. So I know Evan has just changed some line types on some things. There's been a couple different layers added. Our stormwater blocks have been updated recently. So try to, anytime that you are creating a new drawing, make sure you use this template. This is where it's going to be the most up to date in our CAD standards. But if you zoom way in here to the project folder commands box, you have this list down here. Essentially what we did, we created several links for tasks that are commonly used, commonly done, and makes it quicker as far as the setup. Now in this example, I'm going to be creating a completely new project folder. This very top one here in red, typically this is created as soon as the project is taken out in Vantage Point. So if this goes right to the P drive, right to the year. So in order to activate any of these, you first have to hold down your control key and then you can click on it. A pop-up warning will show up saying, hey, you're going to run something that's external of AutoCAD. Are you sure you want to do this? And you say, okay. A command box will show up. Now for this example, I'm going to use the year 2055. It's something simple to do, but you need to put all 4 digits in. Now, even if the project folder is already created, if it's an older project, say a 19 something, 2019, 2018, but you're working on something new with it, you can still put in the year and the project number. It will not overwrite any files, but it will add the folder structure that is essential for using the data shortcuts, XREFs, the plot sheets, things like that in future steps that we'll show today. So I'm just going to guess 2055. That's going to be and I'm going to make it project number 55555. This way, it still follows our standard naming conventions, but it's well out of the range of what we would normally do. After I hit that, enter on that, you'll see this big list of what it does. It goes through, it's set up a script that pulls all this information in from the server so that we can access and update those files ongoing. And anytime anything new is created, those new files get updated. They have the latest and greatest templates, folder structure, things like that. Now, if you've come across a situation where you seem to always be adding a new folder to the folder structure, let me know, because that's something we can add to this template. And then in the future, that folder will always be there. It will save a little bit of time, make it a little bit more efficient, and, one less step you have to worry about. I'm going to hit enter. Hit enter to exit. Now, if I look at my File Explorer, the new folder the new year was added way down here. Let me just click on that. And the only project in it currently is the one I just created, the 55555. Inside that folder, everything has been already customized with that project number. It replaces, make sure everything is properly set up. So you have your general project folders. That's where our photos and stuff will go. And each of the each of the departments have their own folder, and a couple other folders have been added in here now and then just for easy reference. In this case, I'm going to go into design. You can see there's our working folder, which we'll talk about later, and our typical file setup. Under environmental, same situation. We have our ENS and stormwater. And again, if anybody in those departments cares to have different folders added or changed or file automatically put in there, let me know and we'll get that taken care of. But like I said, this whole system here usually is already created when you get to a project. So it's not as common that you use this first one, but it's there. We can do another training session on location maps. I've done that in the past. We might actually look into doing that here today. So now I have a drawing. It's not saved yet, so I'm going to go ahead and do a file save. And we're going to use that same project that I just created. Try to always put project numbers in front. That way, if for some terrible reason it gets deleted, it makes it a lot easier to find. If we named everything, MD, every single project would have an MD, and it would be really difficult for me to recover or restore any kind of files. Same with reports, anything like that. You always want to try to keep the file name consistently named, but have it so that it's specific to that file or project. Okay, so now we have an MD. Here we go. We can start doing our design. We can work through things, get things going, do our normal thing. So that was the project folder command. We'll come back to this in a little bit once we get things set up a little farther. Now, I understand these are very small. You can always go back and reference this. Most of these tutorials can be found on our Google Drive. There is links available here, or it's under the design folder in the shared Pantera Google Drive. Okay, so we were talking about project setup. We kind of looked at how the folders can be created. Let's actually go ahead. We'll create a location map while we're at it. Again, all this is doing is just copying over a default template that has already been set up for a specific. Oh, looks like we got a bad tab. We'll have to fix that. All right, maybe we won't do that right now. I'll have to go back into the template, fix that, and it'll be ready for you whenever you do the next new drawing. Let me see if one of the other files. Let's see. Okay, if we go back over there, if we go to plot files, you can see we have folders for each type of common design sets. If I go into final plans, you'll see nothing's in there except for this. This is a shortened version of the short. This basically is the file that is run when you click on these. So I'm going to go in here. Let's do a final sheet set. Hopefully that link works. It's going to ask you same kind of questions. What is the year of the project? It's important to make sure you get all 4 digits in there. Otherwise, it won't know where to put it. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me change back to my. Here we go. Let me cancel that. So on here, I created the final sheet set with my control key down, except the. Okay, there we go. 2055 for this example. 55555. Now what that did, if we go back to my File Explorer, we're in the exact same folder that we were in before, Final Plans, but now you'll see all these files have been created with a generic PN, that stands for project number. PT is the project type, and then what type of file it is. Probably could get rid of the back files. They don't need to be coming through, but it goes from the cover sheet all the way up to post-construction stormwater management. So now all those files were just created by clicking on that one link. They already have a lot of their layers set up through viewports. They have their MD is in there. You just have to repath it. So there's a lot of good things going on there that really speeds up the setup process. So that's just one way that you can quickly set up and get organized with your plan sheets and your project. View Manager fits right into this, and it's very important that if you do want to use View Manager, you have this configuration or the project set up the way we just showed you. So everybody knows that we keep having to make legends over and over again. Eventually we'll get there that we'll actually have these all pre-made. And then you'll only have to remove the folders out. So I'm going to create a quick existing conditions plan. No, let's do a record plan. So all of these are already set up, so you can kind of get an idea of where they go. You can just snap to them real quick. Let's say we need some of these. All right, there's our quick legend for our record plan. Oh, I keep forgetting to switch back to our source drawing. Okay, so all I did was I copied over legends over here into the box that is labeled record plan legends. Now, as long as you don't move these around, this should work pretty well. If you move it around, some of the stuff will be lost and you'll have to reconfigure it. So it's important because under View Manager, I have already gone through and in our template, all of the legends have already been predefined as views, as model space views. So as you can see here, we have a legend as built. All the legends are there. We have 6 different profile windows, which are these 6 right here. They're already programmed as a saved view. And this is how these squares over here can come in handy if you have your design out in the middle space here. Unfortunately, I don't have a quick design, but what I could do, let's see, we'll just do something real quick here. So here's your property on the wrong layer and everything. So let's put that on our existing property line layer. Just like that. All right. Now, what's important is all of these green squares here have been already adjusted for the viewable drawing area on our typical plot sheet, 24 by 36, and they list the scale. So at 200 scale, this is how much a 200 scale sheet can show. So let's say, in this case, we need to show the entire plot property. Well, that doesn't look like it's going to fit, does it? We can take that square, rotate it some, and see if we can get the entire property on that. So at 200 scale, we could get, that's how much of the sheet it would take up. Doesn't leave much room for legends and things like that, but in this example, we'll be fine. Now that I have that box, that rectangle around the site, I can go back to my View Manager, and we're going to create a new model view. So this is going to be, I usually label these the scale, 200 scale plan. View category, you don't need to do anything here. You can, but it's not necessary. This is view type is still. One thing I do typically turn off is this save layer snapshot with view, only because we have not implemented that yet. This could be very useful, but we have not used layer snapshots. So I typically turn that off so that it captures whatever's, it's not capturing what is being shown, it's just capturing the location. And then we can go in here and say define a window. And we can say, okay, it looks like that. That's not that great. It's still not that great. So in this case, that's not going to work for us. You have to make sure that you change your rotation with your, 3-point view would be pretty good. So we'll change our rotation, set up a custom UCS. Make sure you rename that. Now, since I know this is a 200 scale, I'm going to put 200 on here because it's, I have a feeling we'd have to break this down into smaller sheets and maybe a slightly different rotation in future. All right, so there's our rotated 200. Now, if I do my plan view, now I should be able to do a view manager, do a new 200 plan. We're going to turn that off. But do notice it did have the rotated 200 down here as your UCS. We're going to define our window. All right, that looks good. I'm going to right click to accept. And now we have a new view created, 200 plan. That's important for the next step. Hit OK. So now you can go through here, you draw, you have your basic outline of what's actually viewable. You could, let me see, we could take our, let's say we take 50 scale. We could put this down here. We could say, okay, we're going to have a detailed area. This is going to be a detailed area down here. And, oops, I guess I should have. If I want to keep the same rotation, I can do that. Or I can change it back to world. View manager. .50 scale, or maybe this is 50 southwest. Maybe there's a entrance there or something like that. You can put a description in. Define the window. But, I didn't. Need to make sure you're in the proper, because this does not give you the option to rotate it, unfortunately. So even though I'm in World UCS, you have to be in the plan view of that current UCS. All right. So essentially, you're just going through. Hopefully, you can, once you get used to doing this, it makes a little bit more sense. But there's our 2 views that we created as saved views. There's our property line. There's our legend with our, that's been moved into the record plan set. Now I'm going to just go ahead and save. Now, during that whole create project or create final plan set, it also created a sheet set for us. So I can go into my sheet set manager, find the projects folder, And notice it already has the name in it. It replaced the project type with a final, and it's 24 by 36. Now if I go over here, you'll see all of my sheet sets are listed. They are grouped. They have their project number, or their page numbers, everything in there. So in this case, we want to open up our record plan. And there's our default record plan. It looks like we have a XREF that, for some reason, this XREF always has some issues. We'll have to keep working on that. It has our location map windows already set up, our legend area, our plan view, all in there already. But it doesn't have the correct MD. So we'll go down to external references. We have our generic MD in here. I find this works really well because it's a shorter name, and that way when you're searching through your layers, it's a little bit shorter layer name. But you can go down here, select the path, and just search for that path. So we know that's 2055, 555. There's our MD for this project. Now, I didn't need to be in any kind of model space or anything like that. It's already in here. If I click within this active window, you'll see it's this one's actually unlocked already. Now, if I wanted, there is a command called copy views. Copy view is an external command. It's not loaded by default from AutoCAD. This is a third-party routine that we found and been able to use. There is some caveats with it. You cannot have your MD or whatever file that you're copying the view from active or open. So make sure that you close the drawing that you're working in, or the drawing that has the views in it that you want to bring in. All right, so go back to my CAD. At least I remember this time. So right now my MD is open, and that's where I want to get my views from. So I'm going to close that. I'm going to go back into here, make sure that my viewport is not loaded, and I'm going to type in the copy views command. If your copy views command does not come up, I can show you real quickly here. Let me see. That means it has not been loaded. So if you type in the command app load, it will bring up a whole bunch of apps that we already have on the S drive. So here, but this is the important one, the startup suite. If you go down to contents, you can actually add copy drive or copy views, which is called this one right here, copy views VLX. It's a little bit different file format than the typical LSP, but you can pull that in there. You do that once, adds it in here. See, I have my figure to poly also in there. They always load, and then once they're in there, they load every time I open up AutoCAD. There's a couple other useful Lisp commands that we do have, but those two are the only ones I usually have loaded that come up every single time. And hopefully, if I configured your computer, I probably already loaded those. If not, we can easily get those back in there. All right, so one small complaint about copy views, it never remembers where you're looking. So it always goes back to the AutoCAD 2025 folder on your hard drive. So you do have to search through paths quite a bit. So in this case, luckily I made that new project number, so it's a lot easier to find. And there is my MD. I have it closed, so we don't have to worry about that. I hit open. What it does, let me see if I can bring this up. It just copied over 22 views from the MD. There's our 50 SW or 200 plan, and all of our legends and profiles. So that's pretty nice that it can do all that. So actually, let's first try. Oops. Also, if you can't get to your viewport, if you do Control R, it will, and just continue, hold down Control, tap on R, it will toggle through the different viewports until you come to the one that you want active. All right, so here's my viewport that I would normally have my legend. So I have that active. It is unlocked, very key. And I would go up to View, View Manager, and I would find my legend for my record plan. So that's the one I filled out. And I'd say set current and OK. And there is your legend, just like we had set up in the MD. That's already programmed in there. It knows exactly where to go to, and you're set. Now, if I go back out to this one, I can do the same kind of view manager, or even, actually, there's even a drop down up here. Right now it says unsaved view. You can go into here and you can click on 200 plan, and instantly it already rotated it. It has it exactly the way that we had drawn it in the MD. Now, there's some issues, obviously, with the location maps being a little bit, but we knew that going in that 200 scale may not work. And then actually, if I look and click on that, even the viewport is at 200 scale now. That was originally at 50 scale, so that switched it over. I'm going to lock that viewport, and now this graphic scale is not connected to it, so you do have to change it, but you can hit on that little arrow there. And if I regen the whole plan, you'll see that the title block is updated to the main Windows scale. This all only works if you leave the template alone and you do not delete this viewport. If you delete this viewport, this will turn to, I believe, X's or what are percent signs or something like that. It will look weird. You'll have to go through it and reapply it to the correct viewport. Now, we'll cover Plot Sheet Manager another time, but the copy views can be very quick. It can be very fast, and it's exact because I can go to the next sheet over. Let's say I'll go to my geometry plan. We have a viewport in here. Go make sure it's unlocked. That's always a key. Type in copy views. Again, find the correct path. It copied all over, so the viewport is unlocked. The view is active. I can go up here. I can select 50 scale. Oh, I know. I forgot to repath my XREF. Once that gets repathed, there's that blown up area of the property at 50 scale, right where it needs to be. So yes, it does take a little bit pre-thought, a little, idea, a little planning ahead of time, but it can make it really quick for setting up all of your plans. So I'm sure if you have questions on this, I don't know that many people are using this technique at this point, but it can be very helpful to be consistent throughout your sheets and get everything with your rotation, all that stuff set up quick. So that was View Manager and how it's implemented with our templates. Data shortcuts. This one is definitely important. We could cover this in its own topic by itself. I just want to reiterate what is a data shortcut. It allows us to take any of the Civil 3D entities that we have and share them with other people. Um, it's very similar to the survey database that we use. That's separate. It's a separate database, but we can pull it into different drawings. It's all stored in one place, but it's brought in at others. But with data shortcuts, like I said, surfaces, alignments, corridors, pipe networks can all be shared from one data source into multiple drawings. It's sort of like XREF, but not exactly. It's more of a database. XREF, it pretty much brings the line work over verbatim. You can do a little bit of manipulation with the line work, but not much. Data shortcuts, you can't change the data that is in the database, but you can change the way that they look also by changing styles, turning things on and on, only bringing over certain things. So let's take a quick look. I'm going to open up the MD again. This one's going to be a little bit harder to, because I don't have this all pre-configured. It's going to be harder to demonstrate. But one of the very first key thing that you must check whenever you're working in your MD is where does your data shortcuts folder point. Right now, if you see two brackets like this, it's not associated with any project. So we need to go in, right click on that data shortcut, and set the working folder. The working folder is created with the project through that initial first setup. So it should already be there if it's a new project. If it's not, then using the project folder commands can create that. The working folder is underneath the design folder department. Let me give you a quick tour of what it looks like. Like I said, this is created during the process of the project folder. We have our survey database is also saved in here with the project number separate, so every single survey database is different. But under data shortcuts, it says shortcuts, but then here's the different items that you can actually share with other people. Alignments, corridors, pipe networks, pressure pipe networks, profiles, sample line groups, surfaces, and view frame groups. All can be shared individually or as a group to different files within the project. The key when setting up your data shortcut is that you want to only go as deep as the working folder. It's very particular about how the file structure is set up. We already have that worked into the base template project folder setup. So just have to click on that working folder, and that's all you need. Set your folder. Now in this case, you will not see anything in here since nothing has been placed into this drawing. So if we wanted to, we could hurry up. I can create a quick surface. Let me see. Maybe I can create. I'm just going to do a couple polylines to represent contours. All right, you get the idea. So we have our contours. We'll make these 10-foot contours. Okay, so we have our contours on here, existing contours. We want to make sure that they're on the proper layer. Now in this case, the way I have been doing it lately, I'm not sure if we have I'm not sure that we have upgraded the layer convention yet. Typically, if I'm going to create any kind of surface out of polylines, I now create a no plot layer. to put those contours on. That way I can still see those contours, I can edit those contours, but in my final plot out sheet, it's actually referencing the surface display. So I'm going to just put all those right now onto the plot, no plot 05s. All right. I already have a proposed surface through the template, so we can add those contours as definitions. Also, lately I've been actually dropping our mid ordinate down to 0.01, which is very tiny. I hate to do that because it will slow things down. If it's a smaller project, I would recommend changing to 0.01. Larger project like this is going to be 200 scale. We probably want to keep it at 0.1. That cuts down on the amount of calculations, although it also makes the contours not quite as smooth. But we'll get there. All right, so now we have a surface. We have probably, let me see, this surface is already set to be the proposed contour 1s and 5s. Okay. Like I said, one of the reasons why I put those on a non-plot is because, hey, I might want to change that one polyline so it doesn't snap down there. Maybe it goes to there. And my surface is already going to be updating because of the definition. Existing surfaces, not so much really the case. Proposed contours, this is really useful. And actually, I added these to the wrong. I probably should have added them to the existing surface. Also, I've noticed recently we've been having issues where the edits stay, and they can cause an issue later on where they'll add additional points to the surface, which can cause errors. So you want to, if you do wipe something out or you delete something that's really a common or an important section, you want to go in here and make sure that you clear out your edits if you're starting over. I do this quite a bit. I start over my surfaces a lot. I'll just take all the definitions out and put them all back in. Unfortunately, that's where those extra points can cause a problem. Okay, so there's my existing surface. Now, I want to be able to share that to the environmental department and say, hey, here's the existing surface. We need to have, something built. Get some inlets designed in here, maybe some basins, but we need to have it tie off to there. That's where we need to come down here to our data shortcuts, double check every time that this is the correct path, right click on there and say create data shortcut. In this case, it will show you everything that's in this current MD that can be shared. So I want to share the existing. I could share the proposed even though we don't have that designed yet, but both of those can be added into there and hit OK. Now under data shortcut, you'll see existing and proposed are available. I'm going to save this. And now, hey, since I'm already in here, I can go up to this command and I forget, I don't know if this worked or not. Yep. I can actually create my Storm MD straight from here. Nice and quick. Now I can go and open back to the environmental department folder, and we'll go to stormwater and drawings, and there's my stormwater MD that I just created. Hit open on that. Notice it has the correct naming format, so that's all taken care of. I can go over to here, double check to make sure the path is set. I'm going to actually even go in here, working folder for the project, that's right. And you can see it's listed in here. I can right click on whatever surface I want. I'm going to create a reference for the existing, keep it the same. And this one is existing 2s and 10s. In this scale of a site, I think that should be fine. And there we go. Now we have the surface here. What you'll notice with these surfaces, see how has a little arrow here? The data reference is what that is referring to. It also added the 1 on the end of it because there was already an existing surface in this drawing when it was created. So this can get kind of ugly. I'll admit, we may need to work on this a little bit. But this is one of the issues that you might run into, is that if it has the exact same name as one of the existings, you'll get this number. In this case, we could just say, hey, delete this one out. We don't need this surface here at all. But now if we laying out our storm or grading our basins to this or anything else, this surface is here. If it gets changed, okay, I'm going to save. If it gets changed to the MD or wherever it's originating from, let's say we go into here, I grab one of those polylines again, and I say, oh, I'm going to change this a lot. Okay, hopefully that, there we go. And then I save it. What you'll find is if we go back to the stormwater design, it has a pop-up say, hey, something's changed on the surface. Do you want to synchronize? Go ahead and synchronize. Update the reference name. That update the reference name is because of the fact that we already had a existing surface in there. But you can see there's the surface. It automatically changed. So that's one way for us to share data between the different departments or different designers so that they can be concurrently working on the same information. Or someday, hey, survey may be doing all the base maps. They keep control. They make the data reference. We could just pull the existing surfaces from their drawings into ours and continue working with that. If you look at the actual data reference surface, you'll see there is no definition folder underneath here because we cannot make any changes to the actual definition of the surface. Same thing goes with pipes. You could same system. You would go over the data shortcut. You'd create a data shortcut. And right now we only have surfaces. If we had a pipe network, we could select that for storm, and then that could be brought back into the design. So it has its pluses and cons, but overall it allows us to have multiple people working at the same time on the same project without making extra copies of data. So if in our old system we would have created a surface in the MD, we'd have done a lot of stuff in the MD, and then we might have done a save as for the environmental, and they would have done their design over there. Now the issue with that is design's still working on it, and they found out, hey, something changed dramatically with our surface. The only way to get that information back to environmental so they know that it's updated would be to do another save as or an XREF. It gets convoluted and gets confusing, and there's a better chance of us missing a change that could cause issues in the future. So data references are very important, very useful. There's still a little bit of mystery on how they work and how we can utilize them to the fullest extent. But in order to keep our designs consistent, I see those as working very well. And all the three things that we showed today, the project setup, the view manager, the data shortcuts, they only work if we keep using our set standards. A lot of the stuff is already set up to be as efficient as possible to allow us to not have to worry about all this extra setup, making new files, new folders. But this method also keeps this very standard. And that way, if somebody else needs to work on the project or if a file needs to be found, we can, anyone could hopefully go out and really find it. Same with layer naming, how we set up our projects. All of that stuff will only reduce the amount of work that we have to do to get our drawings up and running and our projects out the door even faster. As usual, a copy of this presentation is provided on our CAD training folder. I'd be happy to answer any questions, or if you need it, go back over this again. We do have a lot of this written up on our Google Docs, on our Google Drive. There's almost a separate worksheet for each one of these topics that we covered today. With that, we'll finish up the recording.